to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always is Mr. Blake Harrison. How are you today, mate?
Very good, mate. Very good. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I weren't sure if we was going to get that much to looking at the idea of putting a show out this week. I was thinking, are we going to have that much to talk about? But as I've started sort of putting bits together, looking back over what went down last weekend with Oliveira, and I sort of was thinking, there's been some huge announcements of big fights, which I think not just them fights, but what that could also mean for some of the fighters that haven't been announced, which now looks like they may not be fighting this year, is quite interesting. And also, I remember thinking next week, the upcoming weekend card was a bit flat, and I've just gone through it all, and it's pretty stacked with some really fun fights. So I think we've got more to chat about than I initially thought. And let me just tell you as well, what you want to do when you listen to these episodes or you're getting ready to watch the scraps at the weekend, get yourself some Fat Candy, some freeze-dried sweets. And you can do that over on Fat Candy's website, or give them a follow on their Instagram or TikTok. And when you buy yourself your sweetie treats, use that discount code Blake Harrison.
Sweet MMA. That's SWEET MMA.
Absolutely. Now, you're probably wondering, has he forgot the jingle? Yes, he has. But don't worry, I've just reminded myself we need to get that jingle in. So, sponsors of today's podcast is Blake Harrison.
Fat Candy.
There we go. Blake, should we
Should
start
I get
today?
paid like extra for that? Should I get some like residual kind of like, I've come up with the jingle, I've vocalised the jingle.
I sort of manage it. I prep you for it. So I want like an agency cut and a management cut.
Oh, okay, yeah. And we're sort of like 80-20 in favour of you is the current deal, isn't it, for that?
If you want to discuss this on the show, that's fine. But I'd rather get my people to talk to your people. And
sure. You've been really distant lately, Stu Whiffin. You've been really distant from me. You're not returning my calls. You're just like, I'm having emails from some guy, like Mr. Fat Cat 842 is emailing me with anything with regards to you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I met your agent in a park in London. Didn't say anything, just sat down next to me and just slid a briefcase with his foot like in front of me and then got up and walked off.
Yeah. No, that sounds about right, actually. Yeah. Right, let's talk about the weekend. Charles Oliveira, dominant win over Mateusz Gamrot. Feel a little bit sorry for Mateusz Gamrot. I kind of feel like that is it for him. He's never getting a title shot. I mean, he's a very good fighter, but he's lost to, Dan Hooker, Beneil Dariush, Charles Oliveira. They were never looking to give him an opportunity. This came up because Fiziev got injured. Gamrot is not someone that is looked upon favourably by the UFC. Let's just remind everyone that he was the backup fighter for Islam versus Charles 2. And what did they do? They called up Volkanovski, even though they had a backup in Mateusz Gamrot waiting in the wings. That shows you what they think of Mateusz Gamrot. Not necessarily as a fighter, but certainly as a commodity, as someone that can make them money. They don't believe he's the one. And in terms of his fighting ability, great fighter, has a very close split decision win over Arman Sarukian that I'm not sure he really did win, but he's got it on his resume. Very good fighter, but falling short at those big moments like the Dan Hooker fight, which was surprising. He was a favourite in that fight. And then obviously Charles Oliveira, and it looked like levels in this one. Would you agree? Like on the ground and on the feet, Gamrot just couldn't compete.
Yeah, completely agree. And I wonder, what that must be like walking out to fight Oliveira in Brazil. The noise and it must be an intimidating. I know we think these fighters do this all the time, so they must get used to it. But fighting a Brazilian legend in Brazil, like, has got to be it's another thing that you've got to factor into your mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
That maybe, and the benefits of that to Oliveira as well. Or maybe not benefits. I don't know. Maybe it's an added pressure to Oliveira as well that he's got to turn it on in front of his home crowd. But essentially, to answer your question, I think he was outclassed in all elements of the game.
Yeah, we've seen people like Michael Chandler, Arman Tsarukyan, Islam Makhachev have some success being on top of Charles Oliveira. Gamrot could not match that. He took him down, but once he took him down, Gamrot was in all sorts of trouble. Omoplata attempts, guillotine attempts, armbar attempts. Like, it was all there, and Gamrot seemed to be struggling. And then he got reversed, and Oliveira was on top. And then in the striking exchanges, Gamrot Oliveira just had no respect for him in terms of the striking. He was just like, he just didn't seem like he felt any of Gamrot's power, walked through anything. And when he hit Gamrot felt it.
Did this feel like vintage the Bronx?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, in a
Predator.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, to me, almost like vintage Oliveira to me is like, he's going to get clipped and go down and get a bit smashed up, but then come back and win by like a submission or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that to me is like vintage classic Oliveira, which is why we love him, because his fights are always so exciting. This was a dominant Oliveira. Gamrot had nothing for him at all. And it just shows Oliveira's in such an odd spot in a way, because he's like, was one of the most exciting champions we've had. He's clearly levels above the Gamrots, the Beneil Dariushs of the world.
Yeah.
He dealt with him very easily. But then up against Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria, he comes up short and in quite devastating fashion. You know, he's finished. Arman Tsarukyan, it was a much closer fight, but Tsarukyan won. And so it just shows you Oliveira is not the elite of the elite of the elite anymore, but he's just sort of like half a step back from that. And if you're not a proper one of the best in the world, future champion type fighter, you're not going to beat Charles Oliveira at this stage. And that leads us to, I suppose, an interesting point of Oliveira's call out, which I thought was fantastic. Did you see the call out?
100%. Like, as you just mentioned, you need to fight someone that is not the elite of the elite of the elite. You got to fight someone that might be starting to look down, start to look towards the end of their career, but he's still super high level, super fun, super exciting, and it was a fantastic call out, and I think it's the best possible fight there. We don't want to see like another Islam fight. There's no point. Don't want to see, Ilia again. It's like Max Holloway makes all the sense. BMF.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean,
you agree?
That's a great headliner, isn't it? Oh. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira for the BMF title. I mean, take my money. That is an absolutely cracking fight. I really, really want to see that fight. And, the winner of that, win or lose with that. Well, if Dan Hooker beats Arman Tsarukyan, which I don't think he will, but if he does, then he's probably looking at the actual title next as his next fight. But if he loses to Arman Tsarukyan, I think you could do the winner of this fight versus Dan Hooker. If I think that would work really, really well. I think Dan Hooker's a BMF in the waiting as well. But yeah, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, that's a headliner. That is the fight that everyone will want to see. 5 rounds of pure carnage. Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. What else did you want to talk about from the weekend's cards?
Figueiredo versus Montel Jackson, I thought was going to be a really interesting fight because Montel Jackson was on a good run and Figueiredo looked like maybe he was slowing down a bit. Montel Jackson just looked like he didn't turn up. It was not the most exciting fight in the world, and Figueiredo dealt with it. I mean, it was a split. I had it 2 rounds to 1 in favour of Figueiredo. I gave Jackson round 3. And I know there were some people that gave Jackson round 2. But overall, it was just not a great fight. It was a bit dull. And yeah, Figgy kept his spot. I think Montel Jackson will be kicking himself. It just looked like he didn't turn up.
Yeah.
And then there was the complete weirdness of Luque versus Alvarez. Did you see this? That was insane. So for those that don't know, I think it was round 1. But maybe it was round 2. I can't remember. But Alvarez, who looked big at 170, by the way. This is a guy that's just stepped up from lightweight, and he looked massive. How he made 155, I don't know. But he hit Luque with a great shot where the knuckle of his thumb went into the eye, which is a legal strike.
Yeah.
It was just the way the punch landed. It was a legal strike. Luque goes down complaining about eye poke, and it's very possible. I don't blame Luque. He's just had something go in his eye. He's complaining about eye poke, which, understandable. The ref then allows Luque a little bit of time, watches the replay, and says, oh, no, it was a legal strike. Now, at this point, you're thinking, either you got to stand him up super quick and go continue the fight, or you got to wave it off and go, the way you went down with from a legal strike, that's a TKO. I'm really sorry, but that's just the way it is. He didn't. He did a little wave off, actually, if you look at it. But he not only allowed Luque to get to his feet and have more time, he then called in a doctor to have a look at his eye. And he was like, hang on a minute. It was a legal strike. If you're calling in a doctor at that point from a legal strike, the fight should be over. Luque had something like 2+ minutes to recover from a legal strike. That, to me, the whole thing was chaotic. It was a circus. It looked like no one knew what they were doing. It was terrible refereeing from my standpoint. I felt like it was so obvious that you had to either go, oh, it's okay for a ref to go, oh, okay, he's saying it's an eye poke. Let me quickly look at the replay. Not an eye poke. Get to your feet. Fight now. Fight on. Go. That's what you have to do, surely. Or if the fighter's like, no, I can't, my eye, it's like, well, wave it off. TKO finished. You're done. To me, that's, I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm taking a mick out of anyone or oversimplifying it, but it does feel simple to me. Those are your two options. Not have a moment, have another minute, call in the doctor. Is he okay?
Does the UFC need to step in at this point and as a organisation sort of take control of this? Because the card in general, there was, quite a lot of, oversights, people like weigh-ins and fighters that were potentially injured fighting and stuff like that. Should the UFC kind of intervene in these sort of things a bit more?
Well, I think no, because if the UFC are intervening too much, I don't trust them to be completely impartial. Like, it should be down to the State Athletic Commission and the referees and the judges and all that stuff. I mean, a lot of people talking about the Paul Hughes fight and how, you can't necessarily trust those guys either.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think the UFC get involved and start giving their opinions on refereeing matters or judging matters or stuff like that. I think that's a bit
slippery slope.
Well, it's a slippery slope to corruption there, I think. Because there's situations where the UFC did not want Magomed Ankalaev to beat Alex Pereira. Now, there was obviously no situation where they could have got involved anyway. Pereira dealt with him very easily in that rematch. But if there's a situation where it's close and the UFC want Pereira to beat Ankalaev for monetary reasons, if they start stepping in with illegal blows and so, like, you can't have that. Yeah. But it certainly was not dealt with well. And it seems like you should just have way stricter rules of, there's been an illegal blow. You have a timeout if someone can't continue in that moment. The referee goes to an immediate replay as quickly as possible, or they've got someone in their ear watching it at ringside, because judges and other referees are ringside at that moment. And if he can determine that it was a legal strike within, 10, 15 seconds, then you have to immediately start that fight or restart that fight. Or you have to wave it off and go, you took a knee when it was a legal strike. I stopped the fight, not you. You took a knee, end of fight, TKO. Like, whichever way people want to go with it, I don't mind. But you cannot have what happened at the weekend. You imagine that's a massive title fight. And imagine if Luque came back and won. Now, obviously, he was battered from pillar to post, really. And I think in round 3, Joel Alvarez took it easy on him. He was in a position where he had sort of an inverted triangle over the top of him.
Yeah.
And he could have been raining down blows. And he just sort of sat there for a while. It was quite boring to watch. But I think he did it because he was like, this man is done. I don't want to beat him up too much, which,
Yeah.
you know, for Luque and his family, I'm sort of glad he had that mentality. But yeah, imagine if Luque had landed a big right hand and knocked him out in round 3.
Yeah.
You'd have been like, this is so unfair.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
You've robbed Alvarez of a potential finish in like round 1 or whatever it was. And then he gets that, like, so this needs to be sorted out. You can't have that. Imagine if it's a title fight, man. And like the champion's just had 2 minutes to recover from a legal blow.
Yeah.
You can't have that. That's so dodgy. So I hope they get to the bottom of that and sort it out. There's not much else I want to talk about other than maybe, was it Mario Pinto who got a nice win? And
great post-fight speech.
Great post-fight was saying, no English. And then at the end, like, I'm working on some English. Yeah, all right, mate, how's it going? Just proper Londoner coming out. Yeah, great win for him. I think he's 11-0 now. And as we keep saying, heavyweight needs fresh blood. Heavyweight is that division that really needs it. So you've got this Portuguese Londoner coming through, having a laugh on the mic. And yeah, did very, very well. Well, but beat up Denise quite simply. Threatened some subs in round 1, beat him up in round 2. Yeah, very nice win. Do you have anything else you want to talk about from the weekend? There's stuff we can, but I'm not overly.
No, not especially. No. But obviously we've got a big card coming up this weekend. Did you want to discuss that, or did you want to talk about something that's happened quite immediately with the?
No, let's have a brief chat about Derrida versus Allen, because this, unfortunately, not that it's necessarily anyone's fault, this has lost a lot of its luster for me. You know, it was supposed to be Renier Derrida versus Fluffy Hernandez in that the second half of that 4-man tournament. The other side of, you know, what was Imava versus Baralio. You had Hernandez on like an 8 or 9 fight win streak, absolutely bullied Roman Dolidze. It was one of the most dominant performances you'll ever see. He just battered him up and was just playing with him almost. And then you got Renier Derrida, who's been nice and exciting, got a few finishes since he's come over to the UFC. And both these guys, very, very high-level grapplers. This was a really exciting matchup. And it looked like the winner of this fight, if they'd have done something very exciting, could have been leaping over Nassourdine Imavov to fight for the belt. Unfortunately, Fluffy Hernandez gets injured. And Brendan Allen, a man that Fluffy Hernandez has beaten not too long ago, maybe even twice in his career, maybe once on the regional scene, is stepping in. Now, credit to Brendan Allen for stepping in. Big credit for Renier Derrida for taking this fight, because I don't think a win over Brendan Allen does that much for him.
Oh, definitely not.
No. And so, you know, just the main event was something that really had a lot at stake. You could have been looking at the next challenger for Khamzat Chimaev's middleweight title. And instead, I think, regardless of what happens on Saturday, Nassourdine Imavov is now the guy to take on Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think
even if RDR does something spectacular.
Yeah, but he's doing something spectacular against Brendan Allen. I don't think it has the same gravitas as beating Carl Baralio or if he'd have beaten Fluffy Hernandez. So for me, Nassourdine Imavov is the next guy up for Khamzat. And if Renier Derrida wins, depending on timing, he might still have to be rebooked against Fluffy Hernandez. I'm not sure. So we'll have to wait and see there. But Brendan Allen's a very good grappler. He can be a very dangerous guy. I'm sort of hoping Renier Derrida wins because otherwise I think we lose some momentum with some of these challengers, and I don't think Brendan Allen is going to be fighting for a title anytime soon. He's got to do a lot more than just beat Renier Derrida, and yeah. So I'd like Renier Derrida to win, and then maybe you have to rebook Fluffy versus Renier Derrida. I don't know.
Not mad at that, mate. Not mad at that.
Yeah. David Grant's also on the card. Love a bit of David Grant. So
yes,
best of luck
I did see that
to him.
He's on there. He's fighting. Who is he fighting?
Charles Jourdain, I think.
Oh, it's a great fight.
Great fight.
Yeah, everyone loves Davey. Kevin Holland's fighting Mike Malott in the co-main. Chito Vera's fighting.
Is it Ayman Zahabi?
He is, yeah.
Yes. That's another good fight. So yeah, some good fights on this card for sure. But the loss of the main event, I think, really dents it for me. I'm nowhere near as excited for this as I would have been had Fluffy Hernandez kept his spot in that main event. But certainly not a card to be sniffed at. Like a decent looking card.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Manon Farrow's fighting on there as well. Carl Nelson versus Matt Frivola. That should be a good scrap. There's some fun stuff on the going down this weekend. But there's some even more exciting stuff coming soon because there's been a lot of big and interesting announcements being made by Dana White this week.
Yes, December 6th at the T-Mobile Arena. I mean, we were talking on our little WhatsApp
UFC
group.
323, right?
UFC 323, yeah. We were talking on our WhatsApp group with Scroobius Pip and Brian Lacey the other day. And it's just never before has a nickname suited a fighter more than Merab the Machine Dvalishvili, because he's back just a couple of weeks or whatever it was after defending his belt against Corey Sandhagen. He's like, yeah, book me again, December, Petty Yarn 2. And he will make history. I think he makes history anyway, as the first UFC champion to defend their belt 4 times in a calendar year. And obviously, if he's successful, excuse me, if he's successful, then he's breaking even more history. He's done it successfully rather than just defending it. It's an intro. I mean, it's looking like a fantastic card to end the year. I wonder how much of Merab's decision was based on the legacy of being the first guy to defend your belt 4 times in a year. I think that's where his mind is at, to be honest. But I wonder if also it was, well, this is the last time a champion can get pay-per-view points. After December, in January, they're changing things up. No more pay-per-view. It's all on that CBS Paramount Plus stuff. And the champions, by all accounts, will get their basic rate raised, but they're not getting pay-per-view points anymore. So Merab's getting in there one more time to earn the big bucks if he can. And I think, well, here's my question. Are you excited about this fight? Because there's aspects of it I'm slightly excited about, and there's aspects of it I'm definitely not. So how do you feel about this main event for 323?
I don't think it's huge. I think it's good, and I think it's a good way because if the co-main is Pantoja, then I think Pantoja Josh Van isn't huge, but I think it's great. And I think both of them fights together, before we even touch on the rest of the card, is solid and really bolsters it up to make it a really good event. And the card's interesting, full stop. But I think it's probably the fight that, well, I think Merab wanted it. Obviously, Petty Yarn's, been looking all right of recent. So I think it's, I mean, Merab called for it as well, didn't he, at the post-fight? And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, hopefully Petty Yarn brings a little bit more to this one than he did last time. What are your thoughts, mate?
Well, I'm excited to see Merab just break records and go down in history. And, maybe I still think the shadow of Dominic Cruz looms over the bantamweight division in a kind of like, you can definitely still make arguments that Dominic Cruz is the GOAT bantamweight. But I think Merab is pretty much there or thereabouts. And to achieve this feat, to defend your belt 4 times in one calendar year against great opposition as well, to do that and then be on 4 title defenses if he wins this fight, I think maybe that's it. He's the GOAT. I think he's probably the GOAT if he wins this fight. I think you can still make an argument.
Cruz, but I think Merab's took it now. I really do.
I think you can still, like, let's say hypothetically, obviously I don't expect this to happen, but hypothetically, if Merab got beat by Jan and then got beat by Umar in like a rematch for them and was on a 2-fight losing streak and then lost again, I know it's incredibly unlikely, but imagine that happened and you look back and go, whoa, wasn't 2025 mad? Merab defended his belt 3 times, then got beat by Jan and then went on a 3-fight losing streak and he never got back to a belt. Would you consider him the GOAT bantamweight over Dominic Cruz after that? That's what I was saying. I think people are going, Merab is destined to be the GOAT. And I think he is because he's that bloody good. And as you pointed out in one of our previous episodes, his work ethic is insane. He goes over to Georgia, spends a couple of days there and goes, I need to go home because life's too easy here. I need to go and train. Khalil Roundtree coming out saying he sparred 5 rounds before the fight against Sandhagen. This guy's insane. So he will be the GOAT. He will be the GOAT. I'm sure of it. And I think people are caught up in he will be. But when you say right now, when you look at his achievements now, if he got injured tomorrow and could never fight again, is he the GOAT in terms of accomplishments over a Dominic Cruz? And I'm not sure that right now he is. Maybe he is. You could certainly make an argument for it. But I'm not sure that he is. I'm not 100% convinced. But a win against Jan to have 4 title defenses in a calendar year, I think then you have to give it to him. And personally, I'm not excited for the matchup as much as I'm excited to just see Merab, make history. Yeah. Because we saw the first fight and it was not competitive in the slightest. Corey Sandhagen did not put Merab in any real danger, but he won 2 of those rounds. Umar Nurmagomedov was winning the fight until round 3, and then he started getting beat and lost the fight. Sean O'Malley even had moments in the first fight with Merab where he looked like Merab didn't like the teep kicks in round 5 and stuff like that. So you look at Petr Yan, it was a dominant 50-45, absolutely did nothing. So I'm not excited for this fight because of that.
So did you see the interview with with O'Malley this week where he was saying basically he doesn't see anyone being able to beat Merab like by the way that people have been trying to frame him. He thinks he's the only person that can beat him via sniping him and knocking him out with a shot. And I know he's tried that twice and it hasn't happened, but he seemed to think that's the only way that someone beats Merab, by knocking him out, because you're not going to out-wrestle that guy and you're not going to outwork that guy. So does that essentially just leave someone with big, heavy hands getting that shot in somehow? I mean, again, like I said,
maybe. I think Umar's the biggest threat to him. You think has been the close. He won 2 rounds and then just got tired. Umar wasn't dominated from a technical standpoint, in my opinion. He was dominated because he was exhausted, and that's when Merab was playing with him. If Umar can work on that cardio a little bit more, I know it's almost impossible to get Merab level cardio, but if he just had another really good 5 minutes in him, he didn't get finished, and he could have won the first 3 rounds, lost the second 2, he's the champ.
Yeah.
So I think Umar, he's still young Umar as well, I think. I think Umar's the biggest threat to Merab. I think a second fight really intrigues me. But until if Umar has to beat Mario Bautista, and then we'll see. But I mean, Sean's interpretation of what can beat Merab might be right, but Merab's really durable. So I don't know if you are going to be able to just put him away with one shot. But it's certainly not going to be Sean O'Malley that does it, I don't think.
Absolutely. Okay.
Pantoja versus Van is another great fight. It's not surprising. We knew this was coming, but that is an absolute banger on that card as well. You did mention that you think it's interesting about the fighters that haven't now been announced and that we're going to have to wait till 2026 to see them. So who were you thinking about when you were thinking about that?
Volk, Ilia Topuria, Paddy the Baddy. What's happening there? Like, Paddy's in camp. We know Paddy's in camp. He's been very open about it. And there's no announcement. So
does it make sense to do that in January? If you're going to, Paramount Plus are going to want to hit the ground running and have huge... I think next year is going to be quite interesting. I think next year we're going to see the first big Paramount Plus numbered event. I think will be massive. Mm-hmm. I think that the White House card will be absolutely massive. And I think there's other little fights that could come up, whether it be the return of Conor, John Jones versus Poatan, like any of this stuff. Like, I think there's loads of stuff that could happen next year that could be really, really interesting. And I think a great way to open your account with a brand new, distributor in terms of, your television rights and all that stuff in Paramount Plus. Paddy versus Ilia Topuria is a huge opening card for January if you want to do that. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just interesting that he's in camp now. What has been said to him? Like,
what other fights are out there for Paddy? Like, because you could say that Ilia could fight Paddy, Ilia could fight Justin Gaethje, Ilia could fight the winner of Sarukian versus Dan Hooker. Like, Ilia has options.
There's lots of talk about Ilia fighting Gaethje. I don't think anything's ever been sort of given enough gravitas where you think, yeah, it's going to be Paddy Ilia. Like, it's never been, the rumour mill hasn't been that alive with it, if you know what I'm saying. And it feels now that the more I'm reading, does lean more towards Gaethje getting that shot at Ilia. But yeah, again, where would that leave Paddy? I don't know.
It's tricky because you would have said maybe Paddy could have fought Charles Oliveira, but now I think everyone's excited about the Max Holloway Oliveira idea.
Yeah, so that ship sailed.
Yeah. So where does Paddy go?
And and what I just want to see it just confirmed that Lerone is going to fight Volk because...
Oh, me too, man.
Because obviously we've seen Diego Lopez look good. We've seen... who is the other guy that called for it? Oh, not the mate who called for it the other week who's way off yet.
Diego Lopez?
No, not Lopez.
Yusuf Zalal.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, he's nowhere near.
Pipe
Shouldn't
down,
be
mate.
anyway.
Like, but yeah, I just want to see that confirmed, so I know that Lerone's getting his shot, and but I thought we might see either one of those announced in December, and the fact that they've put together Merab and Pantoja is it's good, but it's not blockbuster, I don't think. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Pantoja, Josh Van as an actual fight will be a blockbuster. Like, but I think for the casuals, I don't think they're getting that excited.
I agree with you. I'm going to throw a couple of things at you. One, here's something I'm concerned about. Could this whole card, or a lot of the top of this card, be very grapple heavy? And you're looking at Merab versus Petr Yan. Merab was very grapple heavy in the first fight. Why would he change that plan up? Josh Van is lethal boxer. Pantoja's best thing to do, take him down and dominate him like he did to Kai Asakura and other people. Pantoja's grappling is no joke. Macy Barber, Karine Silva, not sure. Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot is a super interesting fight. Really?
Where the fucking hell did that come from?
I know. I mean, good on Peyton Talbot for getting a massive fight. But again, if you're Henry Cejudo, you've seen that the big hole in Talbot's game is takedown defense.
Yeah, so huge gap in his game. And
Henry Cejudo's an Olympic level wrestler. I mean, he doesn't wrestle much of late, but that's what you'd be doing if you're Cejudo, surely. Yeah. And then you got Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. Bogdan Guskov has got power. Jan Blachowicz, yes, he's got the legendary Polish power, but we've also seen him utilise his grappling in the past, like the Israel Adesanya fight. He might be taking it down. So we might be looking at something where we go, oh, this is going to be great. And then all of a sudden we're like, all we're seeing is grapple. Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Great fight. Grant Dawson is probably going to take that guy down as much as he possibly can and sit on him.
Is Moreno on that card?
Oh, that's the fight that could be low-key fight of the night. Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. Huge fight. But again, Tyra is probably going to be wanting to try and take Moreno down, but I think Moreno's able to live with that and deal with it well. That's an absolute cracker of a fight. And it's very possible that we're looking at Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira, which is on the prelims, by the way.
Yeah.
And that fight could be a number one contender fight. If Josh Van wins, either of those guys could be next up, especially if it's Moreno. If Pantoja wins and Tatsuro Taira wins, it makes sense that he's the next guy up. However, is it a coincidence that we've got the bantamweight and flyweight champions on the same card? If Pantoja and Merab win, do we see Pantoja step up in weight and take on Merab?
I think the narrative there, it makes more sense for that than the fact that Merab's going to go up where his best mates fight him. And I think Pantoja because Pantoja has essentially cleared that division. And I think, Pantoja versus Merab, I'd like a bit of that.
Me too.
I think that's a really good fight. But yeah, and also it's only a week later. Royval's fighting Manel Cap, and so if Cap wins, then he's right in the mix of things as well.
Yep, 100%. So so there's options there. I mean, if I'm Pantoja, I probably would stay at 125 because I don't think you're going to beat Merab. But interesting for sure. I mean, I think that card's looking pretty good. As you say, I'm not sure that the casual fans are going to be overly excited about it, but I think there's a lot there to be interested in. I just hope it doesn't become a lot of fights being too... And when I say grapple heavy, I look at Pantoja's grappling and I go, I'll watch that all day long because he's so deadly and lethal and active on the ground. But some fights you think maybe that won't be the most exciting to see. Like if Jan Blachowicz is just taking down Guskov and on top of him, just dominating position, that won't be the most exciting to see. Same with Cejudo and Talbot. And maybe the same with Merab Jan, because we have seen it before. But hopefully we get something a little bit more exciting than that. There's certainly on paper a lot to be interested in. Absolutely.
All right. Well, look, I think that's all she's wrote for this week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okie dokie. Well, look, we'll be back next week. In the meantime, head over to Fat Candy and use that discount code SWEETMMA and get yourself some sweetie treats. Thanks ever so much for listening. You can watch this show over on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. I would say we're quite active on Instagram and TikTok, so they're the places to follow us. And just leave a comment whatever platform you listen to this on. Leave a little comment. Let us know what you think. And thanks for listening.
Bye.
Oh, one last thing. I just want to say congratulations to friend of the show, Reese Wilkinson, who won the K1 World Championship at the weekend. So big up me mate Reese. And congratulations, mate.
Woo!